Thank you for joining us on France 24. It's time for us to cast our collective eye on Africa. We start with the headlines. Sudan is reeling after a devastating landslide in the Marra Mountains killed over 1,000 people. Rescue and recovery operations are hindered not only by a lack of resources and bad weather, but also by the civil war tearing the country apart. The Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime releases a report highlighting the growing presence and influence of Western Balkan drug traders in West Africa, cementing the region's position as a key stop on the drug smuggling route between South America and Europe. And finally, Madagascar marks the return of 3 skulls believed to be that of King Toera of the Sakalava people and 2 of his warriors. They were killed by the French in the late 19th century during France's colonial conquest and were since held in the Paris National History Museum. We begin the program in Sudan's western region of Darfur, where more than 1,000 people are feared dead after a devastating landslide wiped out Tarsin village on Sunday, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in Sudan's recent history. According to the Sudan Liberation Movement Army, the rebel group in control of the area has appealed to the UN and international aid groups to help recover the bodies. Search and rescue operations have been challenging due to the village's remote location, bad weather, and a lack of resources. To talk about this further, I was joined earlier by fellow journalist Naba Mohaideen.
Affected area right now, there is very few information that can be reached and accessed due to many factors. First factor is that it's a remote area and fully controlled by a rebel group that has been battling the Sudanese government for decades, and the area is really remote, and also lack of communication and communication tools make it very difficult to update and to verify the numbers. But initially statement by the Sudanese government and SLM rebel group under the leadership of Abdulwahid Mohammed Hilo said, Abdulwahid Mohammed Noor, said there is at least 1,000 people got killed and rescue efforts are underway to find bodies of people who got killed by the landslide. Many villagers are helping people there, according to some still photos and very few videos were published in social media. There is also urgent calls by SLM and also Sudanese government to international community and to organizations to intervene and help those in need in this area. There is fears that such landslides can happen again because the fragile the climate change is affecting mountains there, and also it's very vulnerable to such landslides. It's not the first time such a landslide take place in Nuba Mountains, and there is fears of such incidents to happen again in the coming days.
And Naba, I'm just jumping on what you said. Darfur has already been ravaged by the civil war, and aid groups have described the region as a black hole in Sudan's humanitarian response. What's your reaction to that?
Actually, yes, Darfur has been in a very fragile situation for decades, not only during this civil war that, of course, gripping the country and split it into 2 authorities and 2 governments. Now the situation in Darfur, particularly beyond dire, since RSF are controlling 4 out of 5 states in Darfur and also 6 out of 8 localities in Nuba Mountains, in Jabal Marra, around Jabal Marra Mountains. So the situation is particularly dire because of the intensified fighting there, and also because of those areas are very remote and under control of rebel groups for many years ago. So yes, people there are suffering from poor infrastructure, from poor conditions, and even helping people there is, of course, linked to politics, because 2 rebel groups are controlling Darfur area. Only Al-Fashir is under control of the Sudanese army up to now. So it's really hard to predict that even aid can be delivered to those in need, because RSF and SLM, Abdulwahid Mohammed Noor leadership, of course, there is no guarantees that they will allow humanitarian aid. Despite that, they called on NGOs to immediately help those in need in Darfur.
Burkina Faso's parliament has passed a bill banning homosexuality in the country, with offenders facing between 2 and 5 years jail time. The amended family code was approved on Monday unanimously by MPs, allowing the new law to come into effect 1 year after it was approved by the military government. Human rights groups such as Amnesty International have slammed the law as an alarming setback. The Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime released a report on Tuesday highlighting the development of Western Balkan criminal operations in Western Africa, solidifying the region's position as a key step in the drug smuggling trade from South America to Europe. While cocaine smuggling in West African nations has not gone unnoticed, the report brings to light the poorly understood influence of Western Balkan groups. To talk about these findings in more detail, I was joined earlier by Lucia Bird, West Africa Director from the Global Initiative. I asked her what makes countries such as Senegal or Cabo Verde, for example, appealing in the intercontinental drug trade.
It's three main things: geography, governance, and infrastructure. This region is positioned between cultivating countries in Latin America and consuming countries in Europe. There are gaps in governance due to resourcing shortfalls as well as corruption, and there is ever-expanding infrastructure, the maritime ports, the airports, the roads that underpin this cocaine trafficking. Add pressure from law enforcement in Europe, particularly on direct routes from Latin America, and we see a sharp expansion of cocaine trafficking through West Africa since around 2019, with some analysts currently estimating that a third of the cocaine reaching Europe is now passing through West Africa, which could be set to grow to half by 2030.
And how have African criminal groups organized themselves to partner, so to speak, with West Balkan groups?
So Western Balkans groups are among the most important players in today's global cocaine trade, particularly for Europe-bound flows. And within this group, it's some of the major players that have operated in West Africa. The Montenegrin Kavač clan, for example, one of the top two networks in the country, or Albanian buyer Pachani, believed to be one of the biggest buyers for the European market, being just two examples. These networks send brokers to West Africa to oversee multi-ton consignments trafficked towards Europe, but they can't operate in West Africa alone. They need the support for logistics and to be connected to the regional protection infrastructure. And this is where regional intermediaries come in, sometimes one intermediary supporting more than one international trafficking group. For now, the relationship we see between West African networks and foreign criminal actors is one of collaboration, not competition.
And what is the link, if any, between the international drug trade and the West African regional instability?
Drug markets are enormously corrupting around the world, and West Africa is no exception. Competition for payments for protecting the cocaine trade is a source of conflict and political systems in a number of countries in West Africa, making it, in some areas, a driver of instability. It makes politics a zero-sum game. Only those with power can provide protection and therefore benefit financially, fueling conflict within some political systems.
And final question, are there any partnerships between Latin American countries and West African nations to fight against the drug trade?
There are some platforms for engagement and partnership, but these do need to be strengthened. We're seeing major Latin American players operating in West Africa, Colombian cartels, Mexican networks, Brazilian networks, some of the biggest players in the cocaine trade. And some are working closely with Western Balkans groups, such as, for example, the Brazilian Primeiro Comando da Capital, one of the most important alliances shaping Europe-bound cocaine flows. So while relationships between law enforcement and governments in Latin America and West Africa exist, they do need to be closer with greater intelligence sharing in order to be able to respond to these transnational networks.
In Uganda, jailed opposition leader Kizza Besigye refused to appear in court on Monday, forcing the postponement of his trial until next month. He has accused the presiding judge Emmanuel Baguma of bias and announced he would boycott the proceedings after the judge refused to recuse himself. At 69, the former personal doctor of President Yoweri Museveni has been in the crosshairs of the Ugandan leader ever since he joined the opposition 25 years ago. More now from our regional correspondent, Juliette Monti.
The trial of Besigye and his aide Obeid Lutale was supposed to start on Monday after months of delays, but both defendants decided to boycott the proceedings. They accused the judge Emmanuel Baguma of bias after he decided to deny Besigye's bail in August. Besigye's lawyer told the press that the defendants took a decision never to appear before Judge Baguma. They maintain that he is incapable of delivering justice with fairness and impartiality. The opposition figure faces charges of plotting by force of arms to overthrow the government. But critics of President Museveni, who's ruled Uganda since 1986, see this trial as yet another sign of growing authoritarianism, with the presidential election looming in January.
It's a return that was long overdue. On Tuesday, Madagascar held a ceremony to mark France's restitution of the skulls of 3 men killed by French troops 128 years ago, including one believed to be that of King Toera of the Sakalava people. The skulls will be taken on a 4-day journey across the country to the Menabe region on the west coast, where they are expected to be buried later this week. The skull, believed to be King Toera's, will rejoin the rest of his body in a tomb in Mbiki, where he was killed in 1897.
Being Sakalav today, I can look people in the eye. I am proud of a man who gave his life for his territory. Let's not forget that Menabe is part of Madagascar. So defending the Menabe means defending Madagascar. So I am proud to be the great-grandson of a hero.
L'arrière-petit-fils d'un héros.
From us for the moment, don't go anywhere, more news still to come.
Dès qu'on parle de la Palestine, on peut être associé parfois un peu à de l'antisémitisme.
At the end of July, France announced that it would officially recognize Palestinian statehood come September.
Pour reconnaître un État de Palestine.
Recent polls suggest that 2/3 of French people are in favor of recognition, while more than 70% support sanctioning Israel if it continues its offensive in Gaza. Given these widespread sentiments of support towards the Palestinian cause, is talking about Palestine still perceived as taboo in France? We took to the streets of Paris and Marseille to ask young French people what they thought.
Dans mon cercle proche à moi, c'est pas un tabou, puisqu'on en parle assez aisément. Après, c'est vrai qu'à l'extérieur, j'en ai jamais vraiment parlé, c'est-à-dire avec des gens extérieurs ou autres. J'ai jamais vraiment lancé le sujet comme ça, avec des gens que je connais pas, quoi.
Quand je vois les actualités, personnellement, c'est des images qui me choquent, donc j'en parle avec mes parents ou que ce soit avec mes amis, tout ça. Mais c'est quelque chose, que je voudrais dénoncer, mais j'en parle forcément qu'avec mes amis et mes parents.
Peut-être que parfois je me censure dans le sens où je me restreins de partir en débat avec les personnes qui en face n'ont pas l'air de comprendre l'importance quand même de l'état actuel de la Palestine. C'est facile dans les gens qui sont du même avis, mais je pense qu'à l'échelle quand même globale ou à l'échelle nationale de la France, ça peut être compliqué par rapport aux générations, aux partis politiques, et aussi peut-être juste aux sources d'information.
Dans le pays, il y a un énorme tabou. On le voit même dans les médias, en fait, où on parle très rarement, entre guillemets, de la Palestine. Et en fait, on parle plus de l'État d'Israël. Après, on commence un peu plus à en parler, puisque les gens commencent à ouvrir les yeux sur ce qui se passe là-bas.
De moins en moins, parce que sur les réseaux sociaux, etc., c'est plus... la parole se libère, mais c'est vrai que dès qu'on parle de la Palestine, on peut être associé parfois un peu à de l'antisémitisme ou des choses comme ça, donc c'est un peu dur de... moi, je me sens pas très légitime d'en parler.
Souvent, quand on parle du sujet, c'est forcément, peut-être pas qu'on est mal vu, mais on va nous dire de se taire parce que c'est pas forcément le sujet qu'on doit parler.
J'ai l'impression que la question palestinienne, c'est très clivage gauche-droite, etc. Et que c'est pas trop une question universelle. C'est plus des partis politiques qui ont leur avis là-dessus. Je pense que la question de la Palestine en France, c'est un tabou aujourd'hui dans le sens où ça devient très politique plutôt que humain. Politiquement, il y a beaucoup d'hypocrisie, je pense, et il y a beaucoup justement de non-dits déjà de ce que nous, on nous enseigne et on nous dit comme information.
What about you? Do you think it's taboo to talk about Palestine in your country?
In northern Ghana, to this day, women continue to be accused of witchcraft.
Someone fell ill and the village blamed me.
To escape brutal punishments like lynching, these women have taken refuge in makeshift camps, far away from their loved ones.
It was hard to leave my family. I cried a lot, and so did my children.
The women accused face harassment, assault, and even public beatings, sometimes leading to death.
And they were trying that he should confess that he's a witch. Then he said, she's not a witch.
To stop the violence, the government is seeking to criminalise witchcraft accusations and provide legal protection to those targeted.
I am very sure that before this year ends, we are going to have an anti-witchcraft. I am very, very confident.
Watch Ghana, Witch Hunt No More on France 24.